Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, we have a very, very special guest indeed. We have an 80s icon in film, and we are joined today by Diane Franklin. Diane, how are you today?
I am lovely, and thank you so much for having me on the show, Sam.
I really appreciate you coming on. When I look at a list of the movies that you've done, it's one of the most impressive resumes, especially for 80s fans.
Thank you. I'm glad, I'm glad the 80s are still being celebrated. I think that's just amazing. It's amazing that we can still, with the internet, go back and celebrate different eras. Isn't that, it's just, because think about it, when I was growing up, there was no internet, obviously. So the actors who were of my generation, at that time, like they never, once their show was off the air or once their show wasn't in a film anymore, like in the theater, it was gone. It disappeared, and their success went with it, unless it was in some kind of magazine or, it was like some kind of print. So it is really special to me that people still remember the 80s films I did.
Oh, absolutely. And I've definitely seen, probably over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, there's a real surge to go back and really celebrate not even just the 80s, but even now like the 70s and the 60s movies. And, some of these films are just timeless.
And it's great to visit the different eras because, every decade has a different feeling. I mean, it obviously brings one back to their childhood. I mean, I'm sure like if you grew up, I don't know, the 90s or 2000s or wherever generation you had, we go back and it's like visiting our childhood. But even I enjoy visiting the fashion era of the 40s or even the 20s, or I did a movie called Second Time Lucky a long time ago, and one of the things that attracted me to do the film was that I played this character Eve throughout time, and so I got to and to me that just was such an exciting thing to do as an actor. So it's just cool that people can go back and look at the fashion and the music and the subject matter. I mean, 80s subject matter is not like today. It was very risque. It was, all the subject matter was so much more, it's funny, the same things are happening in a way today, but it was just more accepted, and especially the teen films. Teens were able to do a lot.
Absolutely. So obviously, as we sort of I've alluded to, some of the films you've been in. I mean, The Last American Virgin, Amityville 2, Better Off Dead, TerrorVision, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I mean, that is such an incredible sort of series of movies, and I think one almost as good as the last.
I want to say thank you because, a lot of actors probably have done a lot more work than I have, but it's really nice that people acknowledge that, I played so many different kinds of characters. One of the things I really liked about the work I did was that I liked the fact that you could watch one movie but not know that I was in another film. Like you go, wait, is that the same person? So as an actor, that is what I enjoy. I really love that.
It's amazing, and as you said, every character is so uniquely different. And if you weren't sort of looking at it being your resume, some people may you look similar, but every character has such a different style that you might think, wow, like is that the same sort of actor? So if we could kind of delve into the very beginning for you, and how did you kind of first get into acting?
Well, my acting experience came because when I was 4 years old, I was sat in front of the television set, and I was raised as an only child. So to me, the television was sort of where I got lost in my imagination, and I was a very creative kid. I think that sometimes people who are born without siblings, they have to keep themselves busy, right? And so I was always, I remember my dad would bring home paper and I would draw a lot, and I would write books, and I would write poetry, and I write songs, and I would dance and sing and listen to music and watch TV. And so from that, I really had a very strong creative nature, and I wanted to be an actress. I knew at a very young age. I started actually at 4 years old to know this. But my parents were not ready at that time. They would like, they were German immigrants, and they would say, "I don't understand what this child is doing. What do we do with her?" And so they'll wait, you know. So I think they found an agent, but the agent I wasn't ready to take on, and so. But I kept my interest in acting until I was 10 years old, and I still bugged my parents. I mean, I really just said, you know, I want to be an actor. And so at that age, they listened to me and they said, okay, you know, and, you know, I think obviously as parents, a lot of parents are afraid to get into the entertainment business if they don't know about it. And my parents didn't have any idea about it. So they were very hesitant, I think. At the same time, I think with my desire, you know, a lot of times parents sometimes can push their kids into it. I just didn't let it go. And I kept trying to prove to my parents, like I would take singing lessons, and I mean, they let me take singing lessons, and I danced, I did ballet, and I just, and by the way, I was raised in Long Island. So it wasn't like I was raised in Los Angeles and that was my thing. I was raised in the suburbs. So it was really one of those things where I feel like if you're a kid and you want to do it, you know, the people around you may not believe, like they may not want you to do it or something, but that doesn't stop you if you're meant to do it. You know, if you're really meant to do something, you don't give up. That's something that is in your soul. So it goes on and on. But anyway, I basically started at 10 years old with modeling and commercials and theater, and I did a soap opera. And I'm going to show you something. If you have more interest in this, I actually wrote a book. And so my first book is really, it's called Diane Franklin, The Excellent Adventures of the Last American French Exchange Babe of the 80's. I wrote this a while back, but the key, what's really good about it is if you are someone who wants to be an actor and you want to know my backstory, like how this happened, this book, I give detailed about how does someone who has no connections in the entertainment business, when you're young, starting out, like, I mean, literally it starts when I'm like 4, how like you do that. And it goes through all the projects that I've did, and it's very honest. So if you're interested in really the detail of it, it's this. I also, I have chapters on all the films I did and everything, and I rated them. So some are rated R. So remember, skip the R-rated chapters if you're very young. And, but it's very, I think, helpful to those who want to be an actor. Like that was my goal with this book. How do you become an actor at such a young age? So yeah, so that got me to, you know, I did a lot of, all my acting and modeling and commercials and work was done in New York City. And looking back, I think I was really, I definitely am not a precocious, I wasn't a precocious kid. Like I wasn't like a know-it-all and jaded, but I was very mature at an early age to do that. Like now I look at my kids and I go, wow, like I was, you know, going and doing jobs and traveling to Florida, like with a modeling job at 12 years old. And I didn't even, to me, that was, you know, I felt at home, you know, I felt at home. And I never felt, I think it was because I started so young. I was brought into the entertainment business in a way that was felt safe. And I was taught that, you know, if anything got weird, it was weird. And if you don't like it, get out. Let's, you know, nothing's keeping you in it. And it was sort of, I don't know, because I think everything was treated very professionally. All I can tell you is like a lot of people have bad experiences. And I think maybe because I didn't attain my success too early. I had to work for it. That kind of work ethic made me really appreciate it by the time I got it. And I was old enough when I got it to handle everything that was put in front of me. So I really feel like, that overnight success took 9 years. That took 9 years. And so my first big film my big break was a lead in a film was The Last American Virgin. So that was my first break.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny enough. That's actually the first movie I really wanted to talk about. Obviously I'm sort of from the 90s era, so I didn't get to experience these live. So I kind of found these movies when I was sort of doing a lot more research into kind of 80s and 70s classics. And that's why I feel like I kind of get the appreciation for them. And The Last American Virgin is honestly one of my favorite movies from the 80s period. And I think you're amazing in it. So with that role, how did that sort of role first come up for you?
Well, I'll tell you, when I got the script after 9 years of trying to be in the entertainment business, and I had been on a soap opera, which actually was really a good training ground for me. But I was offered Last American Virgin, and it was a lead. And that was really important for me, because after all those years, I was like, I want to show people my insight, my talent, what I know, like how, and I knew, like, at that time I had to play very young, and I knew I could do that. But that film takes maturity to do. You could not be a child and do that film. You had to be older playing younger. And I don't think a lot of girls could have done that. And certainly done it with grace and knowledge and maturity and empathy, sort of. So when I got that role, I felt like I knew Karen. Like I wasn't Karen. In fact, I remember thinking, I am so unlike this character, because I wouldn't have chosen, Rick. I would have gone with Gary. That would have been me. But I had to rationalize it and figure that out and make it, authentic. And I remember feeling really, I felt like I was a good actress, because I had to come across, what is it? Like kind of not giving into Gary, kind of like a little distant. And I knew girls like that. So I could see that in other people, but to me, that was interesting for me to act, because there were a couple of roles in my life that I've played that I had to play someone with kind of an attitude, and that's not me. So it was very interesting for me to play somebody who was disinterest, like, oh, you're here, like, whatever, like, I'm not to care, like, so that was kind of an interesting experience. But to play Karen, the many things came from that film. I was growing up, I always felt like I was just the regular girl. I never felt like the beautiful girl. I think there's a lot of, and I'm going to even say this, a lot of models do not feel pretty. A lot of models, people who are, actors, they never ever thought they were attractive. So many, I've met so many other actresses, but they wanted to be. I heard once that Dolly Parton has something said like that, like she always wanted to be like the pretty girl, like that's, and there's a part of me, I love aesthetics and I love that like beauty thing, but when I got the movie of The Last American Virgin, I was really, really surprised, because I have naturally curly hair. And when I was growing up, that wasn't considered pretty. And it was all about changing your hair to look like, Farrah Fawcett or women, Marsha Brady, whatever had that hair. So whoever had that hair. And when I got the role of Virgin, and they loved my hair and they wanted me to play Karen, the dream girl with that hair, that was huge. That was a major thing that I realized as an, 19-year-old young woman. That was really unusual, but I didn't question it. I was like, oh, don't change your mind. Don't change your mind. And I didn't know, I found this out later, that boys had looked at hundreds of girls. I thought I was just like, I guess, the girl who took it, because nobody else wanted the part, for me. But that is where, and I'm bringing it up because we're on the subject, I wrote my second book. And the second book is really a love fest for Virgin. So if you love Virgin, this is the book to get. It's called The Excellent Curls of the Last American French Exchange Babe of the 80s, same title. But this one, because of the curls, it tells how I got the part in Virgin. And oh, by the way, all these books are on Amazon, so just letting you know, but it was just easier. But I mean, there's so many aspects to this book that are so cool. How, I don't know, it was a moment in time. It was the beginning of the 80s. Curly hair was not in. This was the first film where a teenager who is supposedly the pretty girl had curly hair. It was absolutely not in the social consciousness of America. And so that's what this book is about. Truly, like it was like a hiccup in time where they said, okay, well, yeah, keep your curly hair. And all of a sudden, you know, it became like guys started going, they watch this film and they go, oh my gosh, like the curly hair is hot. Like this girl's hot. You know, I like represented sort of a thing where all of a sudden, after I did this job, America just went crazy for curly hair. I mean, all of a sudden, everyone was getting perms. And if you haven't been born in the 80s, I mean, when you were there, when you were born in it, you didn't, like, you grew up in it, you noticed, oh, wow, this is a whole new look. It's a whole, you know, it's a fashion change. But for me, being right in there when it all happened, I remember I wrote it in my diary. Like, I remember saying, what is happening? How is this possible? And there wasn't any curly hair product. Like today, you go curly hairs, you go straight hair. It's like, it's a choice, right? And I think, you know, that's awesome. Now today we've got all these different products. And then it wasn't a thing. No one had, you know, that kind of thing. So this was my hair, naturally. I was it. So it's kind of interesting that I don't know if film helps bring about style in America, you know, in every place, you know, every film reflects culture and is a reflection of culture as well. It's both back and forth. There's no, I think, one way, you know. I think it affects it in both ways. So
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And I remember hearing about you sort of talking about that in the past, and it's kind of crazy to feel that, you know, your look sort of within the movie almost, in my opinion, kind of set an entire trend for like a whole period of time. And that's something I just couldn't even wrap my head around. And I think even when it became kind of big over in the States, it then kind of sort of leaked over here to the UK as well. And I remember, like, my parents always tell me that sort of in that period of time there was loads of people that had curls, and both men and women. So, and that all kind of started really from this movie.
Right. No, it did. And again, you know, it was, again, look, curly hair has existed forever and women have always been trying to straighten it, but they were mostly for adult women. Like you'd see like Lucille Ball or you'd see Bernadette Peters, and it would be considered comical. Like it's pretty, but funny. Yeah. This is drama with curly hair. Like this was a whole different ballgame. This was a teenager. Like teenagers are the most self-conscious about their looks in the first place, you know? So to come out and have this, I wrote this book really to say to, you know, in the future, any girls with curly hair, like embrace what you have. Like, again, sometimes it's not even just curly hair, it's anything. Sometimes what we feel is we should be shameful of is actually the thing we should embrace the most. If you're, you know, feel awkward with your height, rock it. You know, if you feel uncomfortable with, you know, your eyebrows, own it. Like this is part of what makes us individuals and makes us interesting. And I'll tell you, if you have a look that is unusual and you rock it with confidence, the confidence is what's sexy. Do you know what that is? That is, confidence is sexy. And you will attract anyone if you, but you have to embrace it yourself. That's where it starts. You must start embrace. And it doesn't mean show off. It doesn't mean overcompensate. It means actually say to yourself, you know what? Not only am I okay? I'm cool. I'm hot. I'm, you know, own it. Because how can someone else feel that way about you unless you allow yourself to feel that way about you? And sometimes I think in life it is considered unfashionable to I say unfashionable, what I mean is we're taught self-criticism, because at a young, when we are in school, we are taught to look for the problems in everything, reading, math problems, everything. And so we start to edit ourselves. And we need to understand that stop editing after you go to school. Like, keep it at school, keep whatever you're doing in editing, but don't bring it home with you. You know, be your own cheerleader, be your own, you know, backup yourself, because everybody is beautiful in their own way. They really are. And that's really the truth of what, you know, my books are about too, is you can take somebody and you can make them look for all the problems, and suddenly they're not attractive. And you could take someone who's, you know, maybe not the most attractive person on first sight, be mesmerizing. You know, they can just be, I mean, I've always, personally, I've always been interested in people who are more interesting looking, you know, like they didn't have to be like perfect looking. In fact, if someone was like kind of handsome, it often intimidated me and I felt nervous and awkward. So I think it's kind of interesting that you can't judge it. You can't judge yourself. I have a funny story to tell you. I have a funny story, very quick. When I was in high school, I had a crush on this guy. And he was probably like the dorkiest of all dorks, I guess. I don't know, for me. But he was really nice and he was really funny. And I just thought he was so cute. And I wanted to date him, but I was very naive, very young. I was like ninth grade, just starting to ninth grade, and I liked him. But he was older. And I remember like the popular girl coming over to me and saying, "Oh my gosh, Diane, you cannot date him. You will not date him." And I was like, I won't? And they're like, "No, you cannot date." And I didn't date him because I didn't know, like, I didn't think of like, that was like, it was just like, oh, okay, like, I guess you just don't do that. But that didn't stop me later on to, you know, obviously I dated whoever I wanted, but I remember having that. And I always thought, wow, how interesting. It was because that girl who was very popular didn't see what I saw in him, you know? And I think that that's really the key. You have to figure out who the person is, because sometimes it doesn't matter if it's other people find him attractive. It matters that you do, you know? So anyway, stick to your heart. Okay, anyway.
No, absolutely. You know, I think I've always thought about if every single person, you know, was perfect and everyone kind of looked the same, the world would be a very boring place. The whole point is everyone needs to be individual.
Yes. And beauty is really in the eye of the beholder. And beauty is when, again, the confidence. You know, I mean, obviously sometimes, you know, people are attracted to people who are like, you know, not confident. You want to take care of them. That's a whole other thing too. But don't get down on yourself first. Seriously, so many attractive people. They're, I don't know. And then there's people who think they're all that and they're not. So whatever. It goes back and forth.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so so doing Virgin, I have to tell you, I felt very fortunate doing that film. And now, okay, it's the 40th anniversary, people. 40 years ago, that film came out. We did it in 1981, but it came out in 1982. It was my first feature film. And I have to say, I love the film. And I see why it is still around, because it covers something that has never gone out of style, which is relationships. You know, relationships stay true. And the end of that film packs such a punch that strangely, the sex comedy is a beautiful movie. I don't know, to me. You can tell me what your thought is.
No, absolutely. And funnily enough, for something I really wanted to ask you, a question was, obviously playing the lead Karen, what was your personal thoughts about the ending?
My personal thoughts were when we first, at the time, when we about to do it, I thought, this is not going to happen. The director's got to change the end. And we all agreed, you got to change the ending. There's no way that this film is going to have to end like this. I think we all instinctively felt it. we didn't know why. I personally now, later on realized it's like, because it's an American film, so we think it's got a happy, it's called The American Virgin. You're thinking it's got to have a happy ending. But later on, but okay, so at the time, it was really through all of us. We really thought it was going to change the ending. And then we all had to kind of readjust what we were going to do based on not changing that ending. Because I think at the beginning, we all thought it was just a silly film at the beginning. Although I remember reading it going, my storyline's real, mine's deep. But I thought, well, I mean, when we read it, we didn't really realize the impact it was going to have. Mm-hmm. Now looking back, I'm so proud of that film. And it was like, again, like, I think if anybody else had done it, I don't know if you'd feel the same way about it. You might really, I don't know. I mean, that role was a beautiful role. Any girl who played it would have been like photographed beautifully, and would have looked gorgeous. I mean, the idea of, the character. But I think that I'd like to think that I added something more and something memorable to that role. And so I'm hoping that in future generations, anyone who sees it will be able to identify with the characters, and it will help them through life. Mm-hmm. Like, I've had people come to me and say, your film kept me and my girlfriend from getting pregnant. Or they said, I fell in love with you, so my wife is curly hair, dark curly hair. Or they said, wow, like, that film really affected my whole way of being. When something like that similar happened to me, and it helped me get through the difficulty. So I think I love it. Like, those films, look, for generations and generations, people are going to continue having this. So I hope that in the future, if you're watching this, I hope that it's helpful. I hope that it made your life better. I know it's a sad ending, but I hope that it made you feel more normalized. Like, yeah, okay, this is life, and we admit it, which is one of the, obviously this story happened. It's a true story, happened to the director. So it's a real story. And he showed it to the actual Karen, who's, it wasn't her real name, Karen, wow. But he showed it to her, and she supposedly burst into tears. So, wow. Yeah, so we don't realize sometimes what we do, but, life isn't always easy. And I hope this movie, makes people think, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, as I said, it is quite a harsh, brutal ending, I would say. As you said, with sort of, I guess, kind of comedy, romance, especially American movies as well, there's meant to be this beautiful ending where they kind of ride off into the sunset, but obviously with this movie it doesn't. And I kind of feel that that's why, as you said, people have really connected with it more, because it's like a reality. It's kind of brought to the real world now. So and there was no one else that could have ever played Karen. You were so perfect for it.
I have a question. Having been from the UK, being from the UK and watching the film, mm-hmm. What was your interpretation of America by watching it? Like, when you watched it, like, I mean, like, I know, like, if Americans watch films in UK, like, we have a perception. What was your perception? Like, did you identify with it? But like, I don't know. I'd just like to know your perception when you saw it.
So obviously, sort of the timing, I was sort of around when the age group of the characters are sort of, I was, is a bit sort of later for me. I kind of went back and watched it, but for me, it kind of, again, like I said, especially with the ending, it happens quite a lot, and I felt like for me, it almost took it away from it being a film, and it was like almost like I'm watching somebody's life kind of slowly not unravel, but kind of go in a direction maybe they didn't think it would go. Right. And I definitely feel like a lot of people who have seen it, especially, all definitely feel like,
they can identify with it.
Yeah, this happens. Yeah, for sure. Especially when people like, I went to school with people, and similar things kind of happened, and you're just like, wow, like that's a real reality check.
That's what it is, a reality check. Nicely put, it is.
Yeah, so obviously, I believe in the same year, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Also, Amityville 2, The Possession, had kind of come out, which is a completely different kind of movie. So what was it like, kind of going down into the horror genre?
Well, again, like you said, so it's the 40th anniversary of Amityville
Mhm.
2, The Possession, which again, I did not have, um, I did not have a, I mean, I started acting, but nobody knew who I was in acting yet. The film, my Virgin had not come out. So when I was offered Amityville 2, I was kind of, I mean, I wasn't offered it. I still had to audition, but I was
Mhm.
surprised that I was getting offered another big part because I felt like nobody knew me yet. And when you're starting out in the entertainment business, in a sense, like even though I'd been in it for so long, I didn't realize that once you get like a big role, it goes pretty fast. Like things start happening right after one after another. And so I was kind of surprised. And when they said, "Oh, we'd like you to read for this," and then like the callback was, the callback was like a few days later, and then the screen test was like the following week, and then it was like, "Oh, well, do you want to do this film?" And I was so surprised that it went so quickly, and I also felt like how funny that I was up for this film because I didn't like in my personal life, I don't have a brother. So I was
Mhm.
like, how interesting that I'm getting cast to play somebody like this when I don't have any association with it. But that was one of the challenges for me was to create a brother relationship when I had never had one. So it was like, hey bro, how you do, messing and like, yeah, and like punching each other. Like, I didn't understand that. And so
Mhm.
part of that to me was part of the acting challenge, which is interesting. I mean, I'm sure, when you watch that film, there's other challenges in that film. But again, you have to be old enough to older to play younger. No one could have
Mhm.
done that film who wasn't mature enough. And so the first challenge was the brother thing. And then, of course, obviously the second, there's nudity in the film, which another thing is like I had done nudity and I'm like, oh, am I just getting this because of the nudity, or is this something like, is it the acting? Like to me, my big thing was I didn't want to be hired just for that. On the other hand, I knew like I always wanted to do horror, and I knew like this is an opportunity for me to again show what I can do and show my insight to this type of character. Because my feeling was that my role as Patricia Montelli was very innocent. And again, somebody asked me if I ever did research on it, and I did not do research because I did not want to be scared. And I didn't, and again, this is not a documentary. Yes, there was a murder in 1974 that really happened to a family. And we were playing sort of kind of a not shadow, but like a kind of a light version of, it wasn't based on the true story. It was based on kind of a, of that actual murder, but it was both.
Yeah.
But I, as an actress, knew that it wouldn't work. That movie wouldn't work unless I stayed really innocent, because you would never buy, even if I had like a bit more edge to myself, you just wouldn't feel the empathy for the character. And I think that was really, to
Mhm.
me, really the most important thing. You want to feel for Patricia. She is a victim of the situation. But then, and then again, now we get into the heavy part of it, incest. I mean, how many characters have ever done incest? Like, this is a very rare subject. And
Mhm.
the way it was handled was very real.
Yeah.
And when you look at my career and you go back, like, okay, I've done a lot of light things. And I, as an actress, look at other actors and go, and I don't know if other people feel this way. I watch actors sometimes and I go, oh, I like, they did that role really well, or they're funny, or they're cute, but I'd like to see them in something deeper, richer. Like I'd like to see them. And what's cool about my career is that I have gone there. You know, I have gone to places where a lot of actors never went. And that actually freed me up as a actor, performer, because I didn't have anything like, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do it. We're going to make this happen. Like, just give it to me. I'm an actor. I'm going to make it happen. So my attitude, because I started as such a professional as a young child, was like, I wanted the challenge and I wanted to do something that was outrageous and risque and something that nobody maybe would have the guts to trust, you know? And so, and to do it in a, again, also a graceful way, have something to say. Like, so one of the things, someone asked me recently in an interview about the incest, and I said, you know, that is, when you do something like that, you are representing some people who have a dark secret that they have kept their entire life. They will never tell anyone, and they're carrying that with them in their heart, on their back, in their eyes. They're carrying it throughout their life. So when I played that character, I really felt like I wanted to connect to those people and make them see that, you know, everybody thinks it's so easy. Like, again, like anyone in the situation, if you're approached by or attacked by someone, there's a very judgmental attitude on the outside to say, well, you could have gotten out of it. You could have made that choice. You could have left. Mm-hmm. And in an incest thing, we're talking about trust. So because I was older playing younger, I knew that if you're in a situation where you trust someone and someone's doing something to you that you can't even believe, you are frozen. You can't, you want to the last second, you want to make believe that that's not happening. Maybe they're changing their mind. It's not real. So when I played it very deliberately. And look, another actor might have played it very differently. They might have done it very, you know, maybe with a little bit more attitude, or maybe, I don't know. I just didn't see Patricia Montelli that way. So when people say they like my performance in it, I'm really grateful because I did it thoughtfully. And I hope that it, again, also helps people who've gone through stuff like that, and I hope they can identify with it. And I hope it also takes people who are judgmental of those in a situation that's difficult and start to realize you wouldn't be able to walk away. You know, you're not, it's not that simple. It's you trust, you trust that family member because you want that, because you think that's love. And then if that happens, then it's almost like that's how they show their love. And then that's a problem. So like, you know, that's why when Patricia goes back and said, I didn't mean it, you know, she comes back because you're now addicted. You're part of the, it's the magnetism of the situation. It's not the right word, but you're back to it's a trap. It's sort of a trap. It's not easy to leave. So I feel like that whole character, she wanted to always believe that her brother was going to be back to being her old brother and she could trust him again. Of course, that can never happen again. Once that trust is broken, you know, obviously in real life, you have to get away. You have to get away. But if you are in real life, in a film, you know, then it became a possession story, right? It's like, it was possessed, which, by the way, was very scary. On set, his makeup was very scary, people. So yeah, I was just like, oh, that to me was the scariest. So
I think it really, you know, it's really interesting to talk to you about your sort of, I guess, your prep before the role. You know, I think it shows a lot of maturity and a lot of forward thinking for you at that time to really be like, you really want to keep Patricia kind of as innocent as possible, and as you said, you're prepped to kind of do that. And I definitely feel like, yeah, you get that through the role.
Watch it, you look at me and you think I'm like 14, 15. I'm so young looking. I mean, even I look at myself and go, whoa, I looked so young. But I played it young. And see, I acted it young. And see, that's the thing that's fascinating. It's like people just think I was just like that. No, I was talking like this. I mean, I was like, you know, like, I mean, you know, actually, I mean, I was shy, but I had as much going on, maybe inside. I really didn't have this kind of gift of gab actually until I met my husband. And then I learned to talk a lot. It all came out. But I always was thinking a lot in my head.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So when the movie came out, do you kind of remember the general reception from fans and viewers at that time?
Well, when it came out, I was in a very interesting position because, and this happens, I think, sometimes to actors, when you when a film comes out, sometimes you're too busy to even enjoy your success because you're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I did like TV, I did a TV pilot, and then I did 2 movies of the week, and it was just like work, work. And I remember I did go back east to see Amityville in the theater with my friends. And nobody knew, like they didn't know it was me. And the woman, when I bought my ticket, she wouldn't let me get into the theater because she said she thought I was underage. And I was like, I am the person who made this movie R. Okay. So like, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. And I walked in and I started with my dear friends, and it was cool. Like, I mean, I again, like to see myself on the big screen at that time, that I'll say is kind of amazing, because you sit there going, wow, like I'm doing a movie and it's in the theaters. That was such a trip. But then right back to Los Angeles and right back to doing an ABC television pilot where I was starring in it. And if that had gone, then I would have been a TV star. Like I would have been moved to that. So it's kind of interesting how, and I talked to other actors about it who are my friends. And I'm like, it's a moment in time. You're up for something, and if you get it, it takes your life this way. And if you get something else, it takes your life the other direction. You have no control over that. It's really what the director sees the character as, what they want. So, but fascinating, I just think that my experience, I have had a very rich life. I've had a very rich life because my experiences, I have to say, this is interesting. The actual act of acting is like the highlight of my life experience. And there are people who love to act, and I will tell you, it's because it's a highlight in your life to act. It's the experience of doing it is so much more fulfilling than even watching it. And that's how you know you're an actor, because you really love what you do. You love being in the moment, and you love, it's like an adult make-believe, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But you're really being real. So to me, yeah, I just wanted to share that because I think that's interesting. I don't know if I ever said that, but
No,
anyway.
that's it's just kind of things that it's why I love doing these kind of interviews. Is my goal with this is for somebody to, whatever situation they're in life, is just to kind of hear those kind of words and think, maybe they thought they did acting when they were younger and they want to revisit it, or
Yeah.
even if it doesn't even have to be acting, it could be music. And I just love the idea that people can kind of rediscover their passions in life and just sort of push forward.
Oh my goodness, I have to share something. I have a friend of mine who has been acting. He acted all his life, and he had kind of smaller parts. He just loves to act, and he's always participated. My daughter's a filmmaker, and he's always been participating in stuff for her, and just good natured, but just because he loves to do it. Well, lo and behold, he just got like a huge film, huge film. And we were so happy for him because he's just spent all those years doing it. And he would have been fine if he didn't get it, but it was a great reward, and all these years of studying it and learning it to finally have that moment. So no, you're never too old. You're never too old. You're never too old for anything creative. I think, or old anything, learning a language, being, we stop ourselves. I'm an avid learner. I mean, some people are avid readers, but why do we stop learning after college? What happened? I don't know. There's only so many dinners I can go to and lunches, and just like, stop, I can't do it. I'm a creative person. And that's why I've written books, which now the books, I have to bring one more. This is my new book, which is Diane Franklin, the excellent comedy of the last American French exchange, babe of the 80s. Yes, there's a third one. And this one is a tribute to the film Better Off Dead. So I want to share that with you because this one just came out like about a month ago. And all year I'm going to be, there's some crazy cool things that are coming out with this book. So yeah, so if you're a Better Off Dead fan, I have interviews in this. And this one was I love this movie. So I talk like this, I'm French, so don't get confused. If you see a character talk like this, that is Monique Junot, which is my character. So remember, this is out also on Amazon, but just new, so nobody is it. Very, very special. All right.
I'll make sure that in the top of the description, I'll link all the links to purchase your books.
Okay.
And
do you by the way,
obviously,
do you get Amazon? I don't know. Like, is Amazon in the UK?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Absolutely.
interesting. Oh, okay. That's interesting.
I'll probably link.
A lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll link the UK Amazon store because I'm pretty sure they'll be on there, and there'll be a US one as well. So I'll link.
Oh.
I'll make sure it's evenly distributed.
Fine, that's fine.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue to arguably, I think, one of the most criminally underrated movie of the 80s is Better Off Dead. And obviously you played Monique. How do you feel overall about Better Off Dead?
Well, it's my favorite movie. I have to say, it's just a great character. I loved playing Monique because that is the film that I'm most proud of as a role model for women. Because Karen was the object of desire. She was just an object of portrayed as from the male perspective of just being the object of desire. And Patricia was a victim, right? A female victim. She could not stand up for herself in her situation, but Monique, she stands up for herself, and she not only does that, she helps Lane. So it was a very progressive character, and I also liked that she had her own style. And we want Monique, you want her as a friend, you want her as a girlfriend, she's just cool. And I like the fact, the other thing was that she was tasked. She could do many things. She was there's a word for it, but I can't think of it. She had a variety of skills. She could fix a car, she could ski down the K-12, she was athletic, she was book smart, but she was also could be feminine, and she also had street smarts. She wasn't just gonna say, blurt out everything. So it was a nice combination, and I really feel like there were a lot of women who saw this movie and really felt good when they saw Monique, and guys felt good about Monique because they went, yeah, I want a girl who's capable. That's what it is. That's the word I'm looking for. It was a capable character. And I'm excited that you know about it in the UK, because this is something that, again, like in America, we have these actors, these stereotypes, these characters, but how does the UK see it? And that's fascinating. So if you're watching this, I would love to know your opinions about these films, just like what you think, is this role modeling for girls in the UK, or, like, I don't know, just it's interesting to me because, again, these films are done in America. So around the world, I don't know how they're perceived, and I'm interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the UK, we are a little bit behind with getting hold of some of these movies, especially, as I said, with both Better Off Dead and The Last American Virgin, especially. It's kind of come to us because some production companies have got the rights to be able to produce them on like Blu-ray and DVD.
Yes.
So now these incredible movies that I think would have definitely gone under the radar over here are now sort of slowly coming through the line, and they're some of my favorite movies, especially not just from the 80s but just in general. They're so fun and easy to watch, and
yeah, and they make you feel good. This movie is it makes you feel good, and it's like you said, it's almost like if you know these movies, you're cool, you're in the know, because you have to go search for them. They're not just commercial right out there. It's almost like if you say you like these movies, it shows that you're intellectual. It shows that you're smart. There's many parts of this that go like with it, As with, did you see this?
I have seen Bill and Ted, yes.
And
have
check
to.
it out. This is a game. Okay, those of you who don't know, I am holding the Bill and Ted Excellent Adventures Travel Trivia Game. And
I have
I'm just
never
seeing this.
seen that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this I guess is also on Amazon. But the crazy thing about it is, okay, and it's so amazing and cool. It has playing
Ah,
cards.
there we go.
And these playing cards are of Bill and Ted and Princess Elizabeth and Princess Joanna. So if, oh, by the way, if you've ever wondered who I was in the movie because they got my credits wrong,
Yes.
these cards say the truth. I am Princess Elizabeth, and Kate was Princess Joanna. So I just have to say this because they got it. They never thought this movie was going to be more than a one movie. And then when it became 2 movies, and then it became 3 movies, this was all a big surprise. So just sharing that. And of course, you know, in talking with this dialect, you can tell, you know, it's proper or not, you know. So but yes, it was a complete thrill to play a princess, a medieval babe.
I was very confused because I remember in the credits it did say you played Princess Joanna, but then I've seen some other articles that said you were Princess Elizabeth, and it was a bit like it did get a bit confusing. So I'm quite happy you actually spoke about that.
What happened was when we did this version, you know, this goes on. We actually Princess Kimberly Cates, who was Kimberly LaBelle at the time, we both auditioned for Bill and Ted's 2, and that they wind up recasting, which that's a whole other story. That's in a Me Too movement interview, totally separate. But the third one, by the time we did the third one, we heard about Bill and Ted Face the Music. I had been in contact with the writer, and I said to him, "What did you know that, you know, I was listed as Princess Joanna in the credits?" And the writer said, "No, you've always been Princess Elizabeth. Princess Elizabeth is always with Ted. That's it." And so I was like, well, I have been signing autographs as Princess Joanna for years because somebody messed it up, and I just went with it. Like, I just was like, okay, even though I knew from the script I was Elizabeth, but I was like, let's not make it confusing. Well, then it got confusing. So yeah, so I am Princess Elizabeth. And oh, wait, and I have something else. I don't know if you've seen this too, but it's kind of interesting to show audiences if they don't know. There's a Bill and Ted book. Did you know this?
I did not know this.
Oh, Sam's eyes just got big. Okay, watch this. And in the book, they actually give us the right names. So that was, wait till I'll show you the pictures. Shockingly, again, we were just all like, when are they going to do this? But this book is stunning. It is beautiful. And I wonder if anyone's going to, oh, well, this is kind of funny. First, they got away with it by just calling us the princesses. So that I guess just to make sure. But and there's another section about it. But I will say that if someone buys this and then they come to a convention, or even if you buy it and then visit me at the Misty Moon in November, I will sign it, which would be very cool. That's a very unusual thing. Yeah, Princess Joanna. Yeah, they kind of got away with it. They never mentioned it in the book.
Yeah.
They stayed away from. They just kind of lump all the princesses together and just say, well, there's a Princess Elizabeth. But anyway, just letting you know, there's a bit.
I definitely need to get that in my life. I need that book.
Awesome.
So kind of with as obviously of the movies we've talked, and what were the contrasts for like being on set, because you've done everything kind of from romance to comedy to horror, and to also like action and adventure. What was kind of like that? Was there any real differences whilst you were on set?
Oh yes, working on different projects, there's always a different feeling, a different tone. This is usually set by the director. The director sets the tone of a film. When you are on set of a horror film, or drama, you know, it's more serious, and it's more quiet, to a certain extent, because the director usually knows that everyone has to sort of get in the mood and get in the feeling. And if everyone's joking around in a drama or in a comedy, I mean, you know, you can kind of sense that you need to give actors their space to get into their character. Some actors separate during when you're working with them, because let's say they're playing a more isolated character, they're playing somebody who's not, maybe there might be a character that's not very social, and they will have those patterns while you're working just during the time, because you know, you don't just suddenly pop into your character. Once you get into a film, you've been, I mean, usually in an audition process, which is why I kind of like auditions. A lot of people don't, but I like them because it gets me to start to figure out the character and start making adjustments, so that by the time I do it, I've had enough feedback to know that what I'm doing is what the director and producer want. But if you're just offered a part, sometimes you have no idea what everyone's going for, and then you kind of create. But you know, I mean, people, you know, they trust you as you go along, but it's a little trickier because sometimes you can go in a direction that wasn't quite meant to be. Obviously, it's the job of the director to guide you to what he wants. But anyway, very exciting, very cool to be working with different directors. I've worked with a lot of European directors, Boaz Davidson, Damiano Damiani, Italian director. I've worked with Michael Anderson, who did Around the World in 80 Days. Lovely man. And then my American directors was Ted Nicolau, and what was it? Steve Herrick for Bill and Ted's. And then I had a lot of American directors for the movies of the week that I've done. So there is a different tone. There's a different feeling even within that. I find a lot of European directors, sometimes if they don't feel that comfortable with the language in American, it's very unspoken and like nonverbal communication. But I'm very comfortable with that because my parents were Austrian and German. So not that they didn't talk to me, but there's a lot of nonverbal communication that goes on with that as well. So I don't know. I loved it all. I loved working with all kinds of directors, and I still, like today, I have movies out on Hulu. I've done a movie called High Holiday, which is out now, and I play a uptight Southern woman, and I play in a movie called Amityville Murders. I play with Daniel Farrens. I play the mother from Amityville. I played the daughter, and now I play the mother. So it's the same story. Fascinating to watch Amityville: The Possession and then go see Amityville Murders. So you see me play the daughter in one and the mother in the other. Same basic story. And then I did a Ted Bundy American Boogeyman, and I play. I have a cameo role, very raw, very emotional part, and I age in it. So it's, I don't know, I've done a lot of interesting things. And I have movies that haven't even come out. I did a short film that takes sort of like, I play a woman in the 50s. It's sort of like an X-Files kind of short film. And I did a movie called Waking Nightmare. And when that comes out, that's going to terrify people. And so you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I trust this woman. So, but I've done, I'm still working, and, you know, I'm very fortunate. But again, I think it's because I'm adventurous, you know, I'm brave and adventurous. And I like putting myself in situations and doing things that are surprises, and just put yourself out there, just be brave, you know, because life is, it's, you know, not forever, right? You have to take it and just live it to the highest level. So follow your passion, people. You won't be disappointed. You know what? It's funny. You gain confidence when you're brave. You gain confidence when you go face your fear. Any fear you have, if you do something and you face it, you've like walked through the door, and then you will feel good about yourself. And it doesn't matter what anyone else says. You feel more confident. So go for it. You can do it. One you could say.
Absolutely, you know, and any kind of, once these movies come out, anything that's kind of in post-production, but also some movies or shows that you get announced for the future, we'll make sure that we kind of promote them and advertise them as and when they come out. Is there any sort of conventions where people can maybe come and meet you, or is there any social medias where people could come and follow you?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, if you would like to follow me, I'm on Instagram under actress Diane Franklin. You can also follow me at Twitter on Diane Franklin 80. I'm also on Facebook, but go to the group page. You know, there's like individual pages. Go to the group page. It says like Diane Franklin official fan page or something. I never know the difference between a group and a page, but if you go there, that's me also, because my regular Facebook page is full. Then I've like a waiting list of like 1,000 people. So like go over to the other one. And so, okay, to meet me. So first of all, April 14th and 15th, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm in Burbank at what's called the Hollywood Show. Very fun show.
Wow.
And so for those who are local here in Los Angeles, you can come see me there. If you're in the UK, I will be at a couple of events. One is I'll be at the check with the Misty Moon Gallery or mistymoon.com, I think, mistymoongallery.com. And I will be doing a Q&A over there. I think I might be going to maybe the Prince Charles Theater, maybe to watch, there might be Amityville playing there.
Wow.
So contact Misty Moon because they know all the details of all the things they're signing me up to do. But I will be there for a week and I'll be doing all kinds of fun things. So if you buy my books, I can come sign them. I will have some photos. I may have a few books that I'm bringing, but I don't know if I'm bringing a lot. But yeah, you know, so come visit me then. And it's going to be November 14th to the 23rd, that time period. So I don't know. My guess is like the 15th, I'll start doing things to the, I don't know, the 22nd or so. I don't know, something like that. So make sure you're free and come see me.
Absolutely. I'll find a link somewhere where this got advertised, and I'll make sure I add it all in the description. And I'm definitely gonna have to come and meet you in November for sure. That's gonna be an amazing opportunity.
So excited. Thank you. I will be so excited to see you. Fun. All right, it's a date. I'll see you then.
If you could just give us sort of lasting words for people, maybe for some inspiration or a bit of advice for people that maybe are watching this, that, you know, want to kind of take their next step to sort of to do the things that they want to do in life.
Well, I want to tell you that, you know, this pandemic has been very hard on everyone. And don't get yourself in a place where you lose hope, right? The 80s were a very upbeat decade. And it's kind of I would say, like, one of the cool things is that if you watch these 80s films, hopefully they will give you hope. I'm going to just say Better Off Dead is a great film to watch because you will feel great afterwards. And Absolutely. You will feel like anything is possible. So obviously the reason why it was called Better Off Dead is because the character Lane in the story, the boy wants to kill himself because he's broken up by his girlfriend. And so when things get hard, we sometimes don't think rationally and we think emotionally. Never do something when you're feeling emotional. Wait the next day and think, you know, you let your head help your heart. You know, that's why we have our head, because when we have a lot of strong emotions, that's what's there to get us to take it one step at a time. If you feel emotional, get it out. Afterwards, you'll feel better. You can never think clearly when that emotion is inside. You need to let it out. Anger, sadness, you let it out, and then you think. And then after that, you go after your dreams, whether it pays you or not. If you have a job that you don't like very much, all right, you know, try to find even, you know, 10, I used to squeeze in the things I like to do. I would be in the car and I'd be writing my book, or I'd be, you know, writing a song, or I'd be doing something. start using your time well. It is the most valuable thing we have, our time. And you will start realizing, if you look at your time, like, I know people, I'll give you one example. I remember I was doing something, I was working on something, and at my lunch break, I wrote a screenplay, because I had a lunch break in every day, an hour or something, you know what I mean? Like, and so I'd be like, okay, for that 1 hour, I'm going to do this. So it's really a question of, don't sit and abandon your dreams. You need, the one thing you do is, if you have passion, you need to help your passion. You need to help schedule in your happiness, schedule in your devotion and your listening to music, whatever you like to do, schedule in your happiness into your life. Don't give up and say, well, it's not here and it's not fed to me. That's not how life works. You have to look for it, go after it. And if you do, I guarantee your life will get better. And I guarantee good things will come to you, because if you carry your happiness with you, you then are, you leave room in the world for happiness, more happiness to come. But if you have I'm hiding behind this, the attitude of like, no negativity, I don't want anything. People can feel that, and they can't offer you anything good, because they see that, they go, oh, well, that person's already overwhelmed. We can't bring anything good to them, because they're in a, we can feel they're in a defensive mode, or they're in a negative place. They may want to give you some good opportunities, but they can't, because they feel the deflection. So think about that and make your life better, and watch Better Off Dead. It'll get you in the right spirit. Okay.
Absolutely. I think that's a great movie to watch, to get kind of in that frame of mind. Diane, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and I can't wait to meet you in November.
I am so looking forward to it. And thank you so much for having me on the show. And if anyone has any comments, please let Sam know. I would love to know if you enjoyed this, and if I made your day better just listening to this. I would love to. I hope I did.